There is so much financial advice out there regarding how to retire as a millionaire. If you save this amount over the next 30 years, this is how much you'll retire with. But sometimes that advice is tone deaf to the reality of what's happening. And of course, habits can impact how you retire and how comfortably you live, and inflation, lifestyle, all of that impacts it, of course. But there are those people who've just worked low-wage jobs, have modest savings, and never got ahead. What do they do if they never really even invested in the stock market? Or if they did, they still had expenses such as hefty medical bills that impacted their retirement. They may have a condition or an ailment that's really expensive. The medication's expensive, which impacted their ability to save. What are they supposed to do? Well, this video will offer you 3 solutions to combat retirement during this cash crisis if you're thinking about retirement. This topic, of course, is important to me because the bulk of my legal practice is estate planning, which involves not only helping people decide to whom to leave their money, but also look at their financial future. The clients that I work with, some of them have the fortune of being able to have saved and buy property, multiple properties sometimes, have 6 or 7 figure retirement plans. They've either invested in real estate when home mortgages were 30% of their take-home income, and they could pay off their home in, say, 15 years or 20 years with very little strain like we see today. However, just because others have not been as fortunate as this group of people doesn't mean they didn't work hard, and doesn't mean that they don't deserve to retire comfortably. And here is what others are doing to secure their retirement that's not conventional. Now, one elderly couple booked 51 back-to-back cruises after discovering that it would be cheaper for them to sail around the world than actually pay to live in a retirement home. This Australian couple by the name of Marty and Jess Anson have been living out at sea since June 16, 2022, and have spent around 450 days so far on board the Princess Cruises Coral Princess. The couple set off after 2 years of strict lockdowns in Australia, and they decided to spend their days on vacation. Marty, the husband, was quoted in saying, "Eventually I said to my agent, look, whatever comes, book it." And that's how it's got to be such a long cruise. Jess, his wife, said that they had long enjoyed cruises before retirement. After planning a couple of more vacations, they concluded that it would be even more convenient for them to live on board for 2 years than actually pay to live in a retirement home. And it's become a lifestyle. Prior to this long-term trip, the couple had taken 31 cruises amounting to 1,200 days at sea, and ultimately they decided to keep on going because of the living costs, the service, and the cruise ship's relaxing environment. Now, the cruises lifestyle is very efficient. You don't have to worry about paying for rent, mortgage, groceries, even getting groceries, doing your laundry, transportation. Cruising is much cheaper than going into a nursing home, and then you get better treatment and care, and then you get the opportunity to travel the world. The costs start at about $30,000 a year and can go up to $109,000 a year, depending on the type of room and services that one is looking for. So you can pay for accommodations for a year. So a basic suite is about $30,000. So that's about $2,500 a month for food, transportation, lodging, entertainment, gym and pool memberships. So you're actually doing pretty well considering, and seeing beautiful cities at the same time. Another major cruise line decided to market their adventure similar to Anson's lifestyle. And so they have created this 3-year cruise that mimics what the Ansons have doing. And that voyage is set to visit 7 continents, 135 countries and 375 ports all over Europe, Asia, you name it. And to boot, you don't have to worry about medical because there's doctors and nurses on most cruises. And even so, when they stop at a port, they can refill their medication, see a specialist if needed. So it's a really unconventional way to retire, but I believe this method can afford an elderly couple the best care that otherwise they may not get in a retirement home. They get to socialize, so they benefit from that. They get to wake up to the open sea or beautiful cities, so the scenery is always beautiful. They have exercises, they have gyms, they have pools, so they get some physical therapy. So there's so many benefits. They can request a special diet even so. So let me know what you think about this plan in the comments section. Would you be able to stay at sea for 3 years, 5 years? I guess technically you're not at sea for 3 years in total because you stop at port cities. But this is becoming more attractive to senior citizens who have the resources and the physical capabilities to do it. Let me know your thoughts. Would you recommend this to your parents or your grandparents to consider? Now, another retirement scheme that's unconventional, let's travel to China. So 7 Chinese women are taking the Golden Girls approach after purchasing a home together for their retirement. It all started as a joke among the group of friends because who would have had the guts or even the resources to attempt retirement planning of this scale? But as it turns out, these women had exactly what it takes. Their plans of living together have been put into action. So they then customized their home to be 7,500 square feet in the suburbs of Guangzhou, a major city in southeastern China near Hong Kong. They initiated their plan in 2008, and a decade later, they made their friendship fantasy a reality, pooling the sum of $584,000 to buy and completely remodel a dilapidated red brick house an hour outside the Chinese village into a light-filled, glass-coated showstopper. They've known each other for over 20 years, and their ages span about 10 years, and they were colleagues, and sometimes they became closer than their siblings. Now, the home is a 3.5-story estate surrounded by paddy fields. It features shared space on the ground floor and individual bedrooms for each of the ladies on the upper level. And also the home has a huge tatami mats for group hangouts, a tea room, furniture collected from their travels in India and Morocco, and of course a dining table for all of them to eat together. Outside there's a swimming pool and an airy tea pavilion connected via a bamboo walkway. The house is truly exquisite, and it is a testament to community as well, friendship, and pooling resources together. They won't need nursing home care because they have each other and they have a commitment to take care of one another, which is really noble. Now, you may be asking, what if one of them dies? What happens to their 1/7 of the house, or whatever that case may be? I'm sure that has been worked out with estate planning tools that are available in China. I mean, whatever the case may be, I'm sure they have figured what will happen with the next generation with this home. This is a plan you may criticize and say, oh, well, I like my privacy. Oh, well, this isn't for you. If that's the case, this is for people who have a common goal of retiring comfortably. And they don't necessarily have to be in love with everyone, but if they have a common agenda of living comfortably, being able to retire and go on vacation, that's the big goal. That's the big ticket item. And so those small idiosyncrasies don't really matter. We have always been communal people, after all. We have not evolved outside of the necessity of living with people. We actually do better in groups. It's intrinsic to our existence as humans to be seen and understood and to need to belong, and that's achieved through community. Social connections and finding people who share our experiences, our values, our interests is what reminds us of our worth and that we're not alone in this world. And being alone, we all know, is detrimental to our health because the studies show that community benefits us. I mean, scientists have found that we sleep better when we don't live alone because subconsciously we know that we have others around us to protect us. Whereas when we live alone, there's a subconscious knowing that there's no one there to protect me. Therefore, I can't really fall asleep or into a deeper sleep. Everything changes when you know you have to keep yourself alive, even though you're sleeping. You're in a very constant state of self-preservation, even while you sleep. And your body is trying to keep you alive so you don't have a good quality sleep as someone who lives with others. And we all know the long-term impact of poor sleep hygiene. Now, this is of course unconventional in the United States. It flies in the face of the individualistic model. The individual is more important than the group. And it challenges our ideas of what we need to survive. And it could be very foreign to Americans to think about it, because it's just so different from how the American culture is. But 95% of the world lives in community. Americans, even how their suburbs are built, is to be very insular. But if you're a person retiring and you have a group of people and you're wondering, how are we going to afford this retirement? It's not a stretch to think about pooling your resources together and buying a property together and having the common goal of living comfortably in this property and respecting boundaries and respecting people's privacy. I think it's a fantastic idea. I could definitely do this if I was in retirement age. Moving abroad will save you thousands of dollars a year in housing, food, transportation, and healthcare. Where to? Colombia. Colombia has resurged as this new expat spot. It's safe, it's chic, it's low cost, and it's a beautiful country to visit or retire to. You may be confused about the propaganda of Colombia, but I love the culture, the atmosphere, the expat life in Colombia. You can live well, maid service, vibrant social life, frequent dinners out, fitness gym, all of this, nature, for maybe less than $1,000 a month. It is ranked 18 in the world in healthcare, higher than United States and Canada. The cost of medical procedures in Colombia is a fraction of what the cost would be in the United States. So it has become a medical tourist destination for Americans who are considering medical tourism. At Colombia's private hospitals, the prices of standard medical procedures are 70% less than the United States. Americans will find that the cost of a surgery, a heart surgery, or LASIK, or stem cell treatments, fertility treatments, are sometimes 60% less than the United States. Health insurance is a right, not a privilege, like in the United States. So there's 3 forms of health insurance. There's the local health insurance, which most Colombians have. It's the most universal healthcare system that covers about 96% of the population. It's required by law, and it's a form of mandatory public medical insurance for all Colombian citizens and foreign expats who are legal residents in the country. Your cost of this type of insurance is solely based on your income. So this is the lowest tier of insurance. Now, the next level of insurance, the second type of medical insurance, is for wealthier Colombians or expats who may be unsatisfied with the benefits of the lower tier public plan. And so Colombians and foreigners may pay a little extra for the second level of insurance or private health insurance. The additional cost of insurance varies based on your age, the plan that you choose, and perhaps any pre-existing conditions a person may have. And then there's the third form of insurance, but it's not available to foreigners. It's specifically earmarked for extremely vulnerable lower income groups or the indigenous people who live in remote areas of Colombia, and that's totally free. It's government subsidized care, medical care through the national health insurance system. So that's just a glimpse of the health insurance system in Colombia. As I mentioned, healthcare is a right in Colombia, not a privilege, which is why the Colombia pours millions of dollars of resources into providing affordable healthcare to nationals as well as expats, which is why I started the medical tourism trip for Americans who are underinsured and do not have adequate health insurance and who are concerned about their health care. So the trip is for you to travel to Colombia in order to receive robust, comprehensive health care for whatever condition that you're dealing with, because America's not going to save you. Health insurance, with all the crisis happening in the United States, health insurance is the last thing that's on the docket for America to fix. It's not a priority right now, but why should your health suffer in the meantime? And so I believe this is the only hack for Americans who do not have adequate health insurance to travel to another country in order to receive care. It's unconventional. It makes a lot of Americans uncomfortable because you probably feel despondent in that your government should provide you with health care. And you're absolutely right, because many countries consider health care to be a right and it should not come before profits. But the United States has a different model. And what are you going to do? Bang your head up against the wall and try to go up against public policy? It is what it is. You have to find resources elsewhere so that you can have a healthy and long life. And that's why I facilitated the medical tourism trip. The trip is not only for medicine, it's also for many people to see if they want to retire in Colombia, if it's attractive enough, if they can be comfortable enough in Colombia to retire. It's an opportunity to explore the culture, to meet the people, to get a feel for this type of living. And then you get an idea of how expensive it is. And obviously you can afford it because of the quality of life and how inexpensive things are relative to what Americans pay for. So if you're interested in that medical tourism trip, there is a link in the description box, or you can reach out to the email if you have additional questions. Colombia outranks the United States and Canada, and many Americans and Canadians have been traveling to Colombia for years in order to receive health care. And it's become even more dire now with the cost of everything becoming more expensive. And after the pandemic, there's been an explosion of medical tourism where people couldn't see doctors for several months, if not years, during the pandemic. Now we're seeing like a shift where many Americans are traveling just to see a doctor, a dentist. I've seen the doctors and the dentists in Colombia. My mother has, so I could speak to the quality of doctors that are on my roster for this trip. But if you have any hesitation, please reach out and ask any questions. I really think this is a gem and for you to begin thinking about. And if you have good health, but you know other people that are struggling with the health and struggling with the cost of healthcare, show them this video. It's just an alternative way of thinking. Now also safety. I'll address this first, as it's the first question friends and family ask when I mention living in Colombia. It has been over 25 years since the days of Pablo Escobar. He died in 1993, and Narcos, the Netflix show, in real life, this is not it. Colombia has enjoyed an unprecedented period of peace. Moving here means you'll find yourself amid an amazing country's renaissance after a very difficult time. So set aside any stereotypes, because the old Colombia is long gone. There's even a consciousness among Colombians about safety because of the war that they endured. There is a sense that we look out for one another as human beings. When you get a taxi, for instance, they track your location to make sure you arrive securely. Security at a mall will call a taxi for you just to make sure you get home safely. Also, the smash and grabs that we see on the news in the United States, throughout the country, that will never happen in Colombia, because everywhere is heavily secured with armed guards to protect the public, not just property, but to protect the public. Many restaurants even have armed security guards. Not just even the concierge at a hotel will have a gun. And when I say guns, I mean like assault rifles. But rest assured, the right people have guns. It's very difficult for a regular civilian to get a gun, unlike in the US, where a 14-year-old can walk into a Walmart and buy one. Even more so, Colombia's cosmopolitan cities are statistically safer than major US cities. Now, one of the most important questions is the cost of living. How expensive is it to retire comfortably in Colombia? But one can actually retire for less than $1,000 per month. If you're looking for a more extravagant lifestyle, then you could do so for under $2,000 per month. Fortunately, Colombia offers retirees an affordable yet comfortable way of living, excluding rent. but including food, utilities, transportation, and recreation, your expenses could be around $250 per month for living costs. In more expensive cities like Bogota, Medellin, Barranquilla, you may spend a little more. Rent is about 3/4 lower in Colombia than in the United States. The national average, again, it's more expensive in major cities, is about $265 per month, but it could go up to $400 per month. Of course, if you want more space and amenities in your building, but that's still not doing too badly. If your rent is $500 per month, you're still getting out ahead, not spending as much as you would in the United States. For example, a 1-bedroom apartment in the city center of Bogota averages around $365 a month. So this is a very attractive option if you are a caretaker to your parents and they're declining in health and you can't afford nursing home care, or if you put them in a nursing home, they'll put a lien on your home. I did a video about that, check that out. So if you decide to relocate your parents to Colombia, you could pay for 24/7 care, which will be about $40 a day, and their rent $400, and their food. You can make sure people are around to take care of them. That's way cheaper than any nursing home care, which can be $9,000 a month, and they can retire comfortably in their twilight years. So I give you these scenarios as a way to think about different solutions. You're not stuck if you're living in the US or Canada and you can't afford to retire. You just have to make some tweaks and adjustments. All of these are completely feasible. People are doing them as I do this video. People are relocating, moving to Mexico, moving to Colombia, moving to Costa Rica in order to retire and live an affordable life. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Share this video if you know anyone that's anxious about retirement. Perhaps it will give them a little mustard seed of hope that there are other options to think about. That if they didn't retire as a millionaire, that they can still live comfortably. They just have to revamp their plan. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.